People will say, well, you know, you're gone a lot for this. Well, at my level of my career where I am now, and the fact that I've been in it for a long time, I've honed it to an efficiency. I'm usually only, if I do a show, it's on a Friday or a Saturday night. I'm in and out of town before anybody knows it. And I would never get called away on any off chance, like Mr. Daniels might unforeseeably get called away. The most that would happen for me is I would get held over for 2 nights in Las Vegas and not be back for 2 days. So that would be the worst case scenario for me.
Career as an entertainer, it would coincide with your being mayor of Hillsborough, I guess.
Well, I think that, you know, early on, I think there was I think there were a few people that looked at it as a negative. I personally, and I make no, would make no apology if there's a chance that I can use what limited celebrity I have to bring positive attention to this town, whether it's a prospective employer or some kind of tourism that we would offer, whether it was agritourism or some kind of Appalachian tourism, heritage tourism, whatever it was. There's no question I would use that which I have to bring positive attention to this.
That role, decades, would you know, would assist you in carrying out your, you know, some of your experiences, I guess.
Sure. You know, when I was still in high school, I actually worked kind of like a janitor for a movie theater, and I did that in the early morning hours, 5, 6 o'clock. Then we'd go to school. A friend of mine had an internship, and my parents had a greenhouse business, and so I would go and work there in the evening. So, you know, hard work ethics have long been in my history. I'm not afraid of work, and I'm definitely not afraid to get dirty. I've also had a few positions where I was in managerial status, so I know how to handle those kind of things. And I've had my own business for 15 years, so I know the ins and outs of making sure that paperwork's done and taxes are paid and all the fun things that go along with that.
Now, you mentioned on your website green industries on your campaign website. What kind of industry did you have in mind when you talked about green industries?
Well, it's a field that's obviously growing right now in leaps and bounds. There's so many things that keep changing. I'm not just talking about solar and wind, but the biological aspects where they're growing bacteria that are specifically, I think they're E. coli, but they manufactured it to be safe. I don't know about that, but then makes ethanol gas. These kind of businesses are the new businesses which are looking to have a place to call their home. It's going to be very difficult for Hillsborough to convince an existing business to come move to Hillsborough. If you already have a building existing with people that are working for you, why are you going to move? We need to attract the new businesses that are starting up and are looking for a place to
One of the first steps is what I had mentioned early on, is the planning process. If you look at around our area, I mean, we want businesses to come here, but we also have to realize that we've got Greenfield, we've got a few other areas. Now, I do know Greenfield is strategically trying to position themselves in the green industry area. It's within Highland County, so do we directly compete with that and try to get the businesses to come here and constantly fight with Greenfield, you know, over those businesses, or do we try to collaborate and find ways that we can differentiate Hillsborough? What makes us strong compared to some of the other areas, you know, and how can we attract businesses in that area? And then at the same time, if we can find that differentiation between those communities, then it allows us as a region to go out and actually work as a team, a lot better as a team anyway, because we all have our individual areas. Now, there's going to be some overlap, but if we can find that common ground where we can all go recruit those businesses as a whole, I think that would be an initial part, and that's part of the planning. Like, where do we want to see Hillsborough 5, 10, 15 years from now? And I don't think we don't have a good plan that's communicated down through the chain all the way down to the employee level. And I think we've got to have that, because once we get that goal set up for the city, this is the direction we're going, and get people to buy onto it, then you can start making sure that your processes and your actual, people within the organization is all trying to achieve that same goal. It's back to the fire example, is it the goal of the city to serve just the city, or is it the goal of the city to serve?
With regard to goals and everything, do you think Hillsborough, should we have just a singular goal, or should we have maybe perhaps multiple goals? Because if you look at the city itself, you have an uptown area which, many years ago used to be, just like in a lot of small towns, used to be the primary retail center. No longer is so much the primary retail center. That's kind of moved north up on Harry Shauna Road is where you see a lot of that happening now. So you have an uptown section as well. So, can we have 3 goals maybe, or 4 goals? And
well, I was going to say, well, no, but it seems like, and Rod's approach is laudable. But he tends to come from a certain background, an organizational background. Maybe some of your military thinking goes in Hillsborough. I tend to come from another place. I tend to be entrepreneurially oriented. I tend to, though I completely believe you have to plan and organize, there's no question, I think you need to be able to act quickly. I think that we need to focus. I believe that our uptown revitalization is key, not just for the revitalization, but for the diversification of jobs that it can create. A perfect example was this week when Weiss Tech laid off 20 people in Hillsborough, Ohio, because of a tsunami in Japan. If that's going to happen, there's no protecting yourself. And that's why I believe we get homegrown businesses uptown and also spreading out. But I believe that smaller businesses, homegrown, but not just when you revitalize an uptown, you recreate the community. A lot of these people here are for, I think they want to hear about jobs, how are we going to handle the firehouse? But there's a sense the community is being lost here. We're just not, what made me run? I watched 1957 film of the Hillsborough Sesquicentennial. I watched all those people running up and down the street, men and women in suits and hats, and I was like, this looks like New York. Where did this go? We will never go back to 1957 again, but we can sure as heck bring back that element of it that makes small towns and made Hillsborough great. And we owe that as a steward to our elders who brought us to this point here.
Gary, do you have anything? Businesses, what would be...
How are you going to bring business?
Yeah.
Right, okay. The first thing about this is, we're like having guests over for dinner. We want to have people come over, but yet we haven't cleaned our house, it's dirty, and we got holes in the floors. That's what Hillsborough has. We have some problems with our sewer, with our streets, fire, and police. We cannot begin to think that we're going to just talk to people and then they're going to come and set up shop in Hillsborough. We have to take care of our infrastructure first, take care of our house, clean it up, and then let the people who are the community, truly the community, this is a great place to live. No, we wouldn't be here if it weren't. Allow them to really shine and show that Hillsborough is a great place.
I think we're doing it. I just think it's you have to do it all at once. You can't just say, well, let's get our streets fixed first and let's do this. It has to be, we have to just come alive as a community, I believe.
Terry?
Just to